What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. What's up, everyone? I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and welcome to another episode of Crossover Commerce, episode 105 of Crossover Commerce. To be more precise, episode is titled One-Stop Shop, Changes for Online Sellers Across Europe. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm Ryan Cramer, like I mentioned before, with PingPong Payments. This show is presented by PingPong Payments, and right before we get started, let me tell you quickly about what we do. We transfer more than $150 million a day for e-commerce sellers just like you, helping over 1 million customers now, transferring and converting over $90 billion, that's billion with a B, in cross-border payments. To start saving today, go ahead and check out PingPong Payments in that link below. You can catch it in the show notes, or if you're watching on social media, it's in a link titled with the ending in CC Podcast. Again, that's for Crossover Commerce Podcast. Make sure you mention that you heard about us today through that. Check out PingPong. Go ahead and save some money and grow your business internationally today with PingPong. That being said, again, welcome everyone. If you've listened for the one time, or if this is your first time on Crossover Commerce, or this might be your 105th time, for example, we appreciate every single one of you coming and listening to us live. Again, we're across all social media, and because this is a live show, you can ask your questions, and we'll be able to see those throughout the presentation, and we'll have a portion of this specific podcast. We will be able to answer those at the end of the show. So that being said, go ahead and fire away. Let us know where you're listening from. Let us know what questions you might have about either the presentation or the topic we're covering, and we'll be able to get that squared away for you. If you can't catch us live, that's no problem. Just go ahead and submit your questions still as well, and we'll be able to tag our partners with hellotax as well to make sure that you get everything answered today, because the great thing about this show is we go live anywhere from 2 to 5 times per week. And that is because we have the greatest minds in Amazon and e-commerce coming together on this show in order to give you the best insights available, what's going on in the industry to help you level up your business as well. That being said, not just about me, it's about the guests that we have on this show. And that today is Kris Chara of hellotax. Kris is actually a VAT accountant with over 10 years of experience. And at the end of 2018, he took the role on as operations manager at hellotax, one of the VAT compliance companies preferred by online sellers, where he leads a team of 20 accountants and reporting specialists. And as operations manager, Kris and his team integrate complex rules of VAT and hellotax software, simplifying the work and automating where it is possible. All to help hellotax to provide quality service for a competitive price. Sounds great to me, and I'm excited to bring on the show Kris Chara of hellotax. Kris, welcome to Crossover Commerce. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Welcome everyone. I'm happy to be able to help e-commerce sellers to understand this pretty complex topic, which is the one-stop shop. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. And Kris, just a little bit insight for you. Have you been in e-commerce for a long time? Where you said for 10 years you've been doing VAT and compliance. That's a long time in the e-business space. What did you do anything else before this, or were you always in finance? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I was more into finance and accounting as well, and working with multinational companies. But the e-commerce part actually started with hellotax, and so I would say it's actually a very useful, a wide experience as well that I can use in hellotax in order to make also our service smarter, more efficient.
Fantastic. So where are you joining us from? Where's hellotax based for people who are listening?
hellotax is actually a remote company, and our team operates from all over the world. So we also now we are a multinational company in a sense of the team that is operating. The company itself is registered in Spain. My office, I'm personally allocated in Poland, in Szczecin actually.
Okay.
So it's the northwest part of Poland. Yeah, but as said, we actually operate from multiple countries using English as our business language, while
Sure.
I think there are about 6 or 7 languages that our team is actually speaking with. So that's that's never a native a language that we use.
Right.
But what is connecting us all is the facing, let's say, the reality of e-commerce sellers on daily basis, and our dedication to make it as smooth as possible for our clients.
Absolutely. As one international company to another, I totally understand what you were talking about. Everyone is up at different hours of the day, whether it's in different countries operating
Yeah,
in the world, whether the United States, China, India. We are all over the place, just like yourself. But that's why we're here, right? Is to understand on a global scale how to operate more efficiently. You're talking specifically today about one-stop shop, and I'm curious to hear your insights about what that means to you as a company, and then also what changes are across Europe specifically we're going to hone in on today. So that's exciting to hear what you're going to be talking about today. So I'll go ahead and you prepared some information for us here on a slide
yeah.
of.
I prepared a short presentation, really just trying to squeeze everything in a, let's say, this easy to digest pill. That's what I have here prepared, and I have also an agenda. We now can move to it, and we can see what will be the points that we go through. Okay.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and kick it off.
All right. So first of all, we're going to start with the challenges for online sellers that are linked with the OSS, and all the requirements that are related to it. We're going to speak about the regulations for EU companies and non-EU companies. I think both is interesting because we can have also here listeners from outside of EU. Well, it's also the fact that Great Britain is also now a non-EU company, so we definitely have people interested in those regulations as well. And then we can have this Q&A section that we were also referring to. So then we can speak about anything that pops out to anyone and minds that is related to this OSS topic. Yeah. So how do we stand, or where do we stand actually with the topic? The regulations are kicking in from the 1st July, and every e-commerce business is actually in a situation where they have to refigure it, or let's say at least rethink their business strategy and the business models. The problem that I think is often still faced by them is that there are not enough information about it, and that's why we would like to make it clear, at least in the most important aspects. So starting from the beginning, one-stop shop in regards of the registration, so in which country you can actually register for OSS, and why you should do that in a sense as well. But first, what is the options that you have? Well, if you're an EU based company, sole trader, then the only place you can actually register for OSS is your home country. And that being said, that is also possible for non-EU clients which have a business activity, like maybe a storing in some country of goods. So like, let's say, having some contracts for logistic services like storing and so on. Yeah. But in case of a non-EU client, non-EU company, they are actually choosing one of those countries where they are registered when they are doing business in. And that choice that they do is valid for 2 years, 2 following years. And that country is called the member state of identification. Yeah. So summarizing, pretty simple. For EU clients, is the home country. For non-EU clients, they can choose from one of the countries that they are doing business in. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this makes sense. So this is something where it's a little bit easier for operations to happen all in one place instead of each entity or each sort of country, right? If that makes
Yeah.
sense to
Yeah, yeah,
summarize.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right, right. Good. Well, then what do we have to know as well? Because there are some unclarities in regards of what is the one-stop shop reporting really about. And actually, one-stop shop reporting is covering all the B2C cross-border sale. B2C is the key point that we have to focus here, as well as cross-border. Okay, so that's actually what we used to call it distance sale. Yeah, we said distance sale from country A to country B. Yeah, and that was always linked with a customer, really not with a business, because if you do it to a business, it's a different thing. Yeah, OSS reporting is covering all your B2C cross-border transactions, and it does not really matter where the goods are being dispatched from. Yeah, so it means basically that if you store in Germany, France, Spain, and you make B2C transaction sales from those countries, okay, but to clients in another country, that kind of a transaction will fall under the OSS reporting. Yeah, you will need to have a VAT ID for all the countries where you store. Yeah, that's also important to mention here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, all of this makes sense in terms of what you need to do in terms of the ITs required and everything that looks like. So, what would be the next step in this process?
Yeah. Now, of course, um, the registration itself is pretty simple, as we said. You just choose the country in case of non-use, or you have to do that in the home country. I just would like also to mention key points, let's say, that are specific to understand, to really like close that idea of what we just started of cross-border B2C, to make this dot under the I.
Exactly.
We have the everything that we have, that we be talking about in OSS as this cross-border transactions is falling under this one report. Does not really matter when that report is being created or submitted, to which tax office in Europe it's being submitted. It's covering all those transactions coming from different EU countries. What's left, let's say, because some might think, okay, well, then if that's happening, then what about everything else? That do I have to submit anything else, any other VAT return for that country, or is this anything else that needs to be re-reported than OSS? And actually, there is, and everything that is actually a B2B cross-border. So we say sometimes it's intra-community goods, supplies, or acquisitions. Okay, well, that's accounting expressions, but normally you say B2B, between countries, or B2B cross-border. Yeah, those transactions you report the regular way, as well as any transaction that is actually domestic. So if let's say you have that warehouse that I was mentioning before in France and Spain, Germany, and you actually make the sale to clients that are based in the countries from which the product was sent, yeah, then that is a domestic sale, and that is still to be submitted within the domestic VAT return, separately to OSS report. Yeah.
Sure.
Mm. Good. Well, one additional note about slight change. And that's also, we are getting a lot of questions. What about the thresholds? Because we heard there are no thresholds anymore. Yeah. So, what does that really mean? That there are no thresholds? As probably most of the people that heard about the basics of VAT rules for e-commerce, sellers, for e-commerce sellers, they know what the threshold limit is. But for those that do not, let me remind that there was something like a limit to which you can pay your VAT in the country of dispatch. Okay, so departure of the product. Yeah, and if you above that limit, you have to either register in the country of destination if you are not yet registered, or just pay the VAT in that country if you are already registered in that country. Yeah, and those thresholds, those rules, were also changed by the changes from the in regards to this OSS topic. The first change is that for EU clients that have multi-storage, and for non-EU clients, indeed, there is no threshold limit, meaning that from the first transaction that they do to a given country, they would need to register in that country unless they voluntarily decide to use OSS. Yeah? So that's basically what it means. It's not something scary that, oh, there are no thresholds, now we have to register everywhere. You don't. You can use OSS, and then you don't have to register everywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For EU clients that have only one place of establishment storage, there is still a sales threshold, but it's really like peanuts. It's 10K, 10K for the whole Europe. Yeah. So if you sell abroad more than 10K, you are already above the threshold, meaning that you have to pay the VAT at the destination country. And again, here, either via OSS, or you do it the old way, which which would be actually that there might be some exceptions, but there are no not a lot good sides of registering the destination country, and like that, it's not interesting for a majority of e-commerce sellers. So you rather go via OSS. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thresholds. That's it.
Easy enough. It makes sense to me. And if again, we want to make sure that everyone, if you do have questions, go ahead and submit those on our Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube comment section, and we'll be able to see those at the end. Turn them up on the screen. If anything that Kris mentions about any of these operations or any of these definitions or just processes in general, if you have questions about that, go ahead and just submit your questions. And at the end, we have a Q&A section actually for us to answer those questions, and experts like Kris can make sure that everything is cleared up for you. So just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of that.
Great. Perfect. Now, so then we move to the next topic, which is also a part of this package, e-commerce package. We have the online marketplaces, new liability, new obligations for them actually, which is collecting of VAT. And here also we got some questions from our clients. What will that mean? How will that work? Some of the people, some of the sellers that are operating in UK, you already know how it works. Already they know it from from the experience, from actually the payout that they got from Amazon or similar marketplaces. Definitely, the most important thing that you have to keep in mind that from the EU perspective, if you are a non-EU entity, not so an entity not established in EU, then the marketplace will be responsible for collecting VAT on the transactions that you do within the EU. Yeah. So let's say I am a Chinese company storing in Germany, doing sales from Germany to whatever, to the whole Europe. That marketplace that I'm using, that is actually being appointed to be the deemed supplier. We're going to go to that in the next slide, next page. Is collecting my VAT, and it's actually paying me out only the net amount of the sales that I do. So the price they have on the website is whatever the gross amount is there, and I'm just going to get the net amount paid out. Yeah. But here again, similar to what we said previously, it's not always the case that you're going to have 100% transactions really collected by Amazon. There are some exceptions here, so you still will have anyway, always, to submit a VAT return in that country. It's not taking away your VAT reporting obligations for any country, even if the marketplace is responsible for collecting the VAT. Yeah? And again, for non-EU deliveries, so deliveries that are starting from outside EU to Europe, there's also an online marketplace obligation that is being introduced. This doesn't matter now if you are EU customer or non-EU customer. If you do sales that dispatches from a territories outside of EU to a EU customer, there's a new procedure for it as well, but also but only for transactions that are not above 150 euro. Everything above 150 euro, and then we talk about the whole package down here, the whole order. Okay, if it's above this amount, then it follows the normal regulations, the old, let's say, custom duties procedures. Yeah,
Absolutely. Work.
good.
I'm following right along. Sorry, I'm
I
taking
know.
notes here. I'm taking notes here in the background for everyone who's
No,
listening. Or
I
I
know.
have a notepad right here of I'm just taking notes and listening to Kris as we're going, because super insightful in terms of what you need to do for online marketplaces collecting VAT. And this is something that even as a company that we help fulfill those payments, it's very important. Let's be clear, and Kris can obviously chime in on this. It's very important to understand when you're growing your e-commerce brand and you're growing your footprint in Amazon marketplaces around the world, to understand these different kind of complexities in terms of VAT and GST, because it is confusing. And that's I believe, number one barrier to entry for people to not go international or to expand internationally, is because of this sort of topic. So that's why we wanted to make sure hellotax was on today, to kind of go over all these different complexities, but not complexities in their mind. So we're trying to bridge that gap, if you will.
Yeah, precisely. Well, and it's also the case that the whole package is thought to make the life simpler, and in the end, it will make the experience of an e-commerce seller much more convenient, let's say, in comparison to what we have. But explaining those changes is maybe not that simple, let's say. Yeah, but we try to make it as simple as possible. All right.
Right. And in true Amazon fashion, and just true any sort of financial regulation fashion, changes are constantly happening. So staying on top of it is even more complex. So this is very, very great information that you're sending our ways and to our listeners' way as well. So continue, if you will, Kris.
No problem, no problem. Well, for the non-EU sellers storing in EU, that's the graph that we have here is describing how the operation will look like, because that's also kind of a question mark that is sometimes replied in a way that is leading to more confusion than actually clarifying the topic. We say that the marketplace, or we said on the previous slide, the marketplace will collect the VAT from your client, and that sometimes people think, okay, but what does that really mean? Am I still selling those products to those clients? What will be the documents flow? What will be the money flow? How will I then report it as well sometimes, or if someone wants to go to such details? Here we have like 4 steps transaction. In every time a marketplace is actually being the one that is responsible, uh, it is the one that is getting the payment from the client, and it is the one that is selling the product to the client. So obviously, before it sells, it also buys it from you. Yeah. Um, it is the one selling the product, the final client. The net amount is being paid out to the non-EU seller, and the VAT payment will actually be passed by the online marketplace for those transactions. But it's also very important to mention. It also, I heard many questions actually in that manner. We are not talking about the fact that when you do sales on marketplace like Amazon, this means that Amazon is basically liable for all your VAT. Whenever they are liable or not is being decided per transaction. Okay, so certain transactions will follow that scheme that we now have, that they will get the money, they will sell it, you get the net amount, they pay the VAT. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say they're collecting, but it's up to you as the seller to reconcile, if you will, with those payments. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kris. Depending on the size of the seller, is that how often you're going to have to be paying those authorities, whether it's quarterly, monthly? Did that change, or has that been still consistent?
The VAT payments did not change really. The OSS reporting has a different reporting scheme and a payment scheme. But that's something we can think about making it more specific here on even on this presentation. But keeping it simple, we would like still to present what are the changes,
Sure.
how to understand those in regards of changes to other aspects. So to the VAT reporting outside of OSS, they have been none. Okay, so that all stays the same. Yeah, that part stays the same. Only the OSS here changed, and those particular responsibilities for marketplace, which here we are now presenting. I will not go that much into the details. I'm showing it here, but as
Right.
said, this is not something which is that important for everyone to go into all those points and check it. Is just to give you kind of a hint on how that validation looks like for every of those transactions, and when actually the marketplace will be the one collecting your VAT for that particular transaction. Yeah. Those two levels of validation, they need to be done by the marketplace, not by service providers, VAT service providers like any other company that is doing similar services, or by you as a e-commerce seller. Don't worry about it. They have actually the responsibility to make this validation. On your side, on an e-commerce seller side, it is important to provide all the necessary information to the marketplace regarding the product, the nature of the product, the nature of the transaction, sometimes as well, depending on how the marketplace operates. Maybe some of those transactions, maybe some of this data is already there on your account, but in some cases it might be required to be delivered by you additionally. Yeah, and for that you are responsible, because of obviously the output of that data can impact the allocation of that transaction. Yeah, good.
Good on my end.
And that's actually it from that perspective, from general changes that happened in OSS, in e-commerce. What I would like to add here is that everyone, actually the most of the e-commerce sellers that have been registered in any country because they met a certain threshold limit, based on the previous rules, previous regulations, these are the ones they might be freed up from those obligations, from obligations to being registered in that country and doing reporting. So also some administrative costs will drop down. Although they have to arrange themselves, we also do provide that service, an OSS registration in the end, yeah, and reporting. But then for many of those of clients that I see, for many of them, it means that you are replacing 3 or 4 countries with just one report, which definitely changes the way changes the final bill that they have obviously always to bear for any administrative stuff related to VAT. Yeah.
So yeah, if people have other questions, they can just go to that website. Again, it's also in our show notes, everyone. If you have a question about hellotax or just staying VAT compliant in 2021, go ahead and click on the link below, whether it's going to directly to hellotax.com or reaching out to, I believe, one of those 3 individuals right there on the team. of hellotax, making sure that you understand the focus. If you are selling in Europe specifically, in this case, it's important to stay compliant. They'll be able to answer all your questions, or even ask Kris your questions as well. So fantastic stuff. You said that this is the last of the presentation. We can kind of go into the questions and
Yes.
whatnot. No problem. So whatsoever. So again, for anyone who is listening or watching this live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, again, to reset kind of the space or the podcast, if you will, this is Crossover Commerce, and we brought in a partner of ours over at hellotax, Kris Chara, excuse me, Kris, of hellotax, for 10 years experience in terms of the space and finance, specifically with hellotax. But there's lots of specific changes for 2021, just like everything else in Amazon and the online marketplace. Constant changes to need to be on top of in order to stay compliant, in order to stay ahead of the game, and make sure that it isn't costly to you as a seller down the road as well. What's the number one challenge in your mind when a client comes to you and they say, how can I be more efficient or more effective as a multi-channel seller in Europe or in around the world? What's the number one challenge that you and your team are seeing?
Well, for anyone that would like to expand their sales to regions that they normally do not operate, from our perspective, obviously, the biggest factor is all the administration related to taxes, and also therefore it's impacting their margins, the sales margins, and their strategies in regards of fulfillment as well. Yeah. So having that in place to make that part, let's say, easier and more fun, you have to have someone's support next to you that can help you with that aspect, while you need to obviously always make a good investigation, a good preparation on whenever that the business idea that you have is actually uh, a good idea to be launched in that area, in that region. As we know, examples show that one thing can be sold, in millions in one country, while in other almost no interest, right? So that's also important to figure out before you launch a new market, no? Marketplace as well. No?
In your opinion, now that Britain is no longer part of the EU society, what challenges have you seen for clients in terms of going between the UK and now separately the EU marketplace and having to differentiate one versus the other? Is there a major time factor? Is there a lot of different challenges between one and the other? What are the things that you're seeing as a company that now that they're not all under one umbrella, what are you seeing as a company? Are people rather opting into just EU instead of both UK and EU?
Well, definitely the challenges that are linked with Brexit are again the challenges of being in two different VAT regions here. So it's like you had everything standardized, you had everything, let's say, figured out, settled, okay, and now we are. It's like those clients that operate in both markets and coming from one, or have companies in obviously in one of them. They are like suddenly in a reality like they would be launching their products in a different marketplace. They have to watch out for different regulations. They have to plan their fulfillments separately, right? So they have to think about, oh, how do I bring it here? How do I bring it in here? What import taxes I will pay here? What import taxes I will pay there? And the issues that we have here also is that from customs perspective, it generated a lot of new obligations and issues for UK companies, but also for EU companies. Both of them, they actually have to have someone locally figuring out and helping them, arranging them everything related to imports. While previously you were just doing an import to one of the EU countries, you could then spread your goods within the EU, either doing it via some kind of services similar to this FBA model of Amazon, but also you could be doing it with your own trucks. Does not really matter. It was pretty simple. Yeah. Currently, you are doing imports between those two. If you do an import to EU, you pay on the entrance, and then you make the import to UK, and you also can face their fees. So
Right.
it's again, you have to figure out what is the best model in this situation. But definitely, things got harder. Things got more complex.
Right. I believe the old adage was sending your goods directly to UK, and you said through the I believe it's called the Pan European Fulfillment Program, where you can send your goods directly to UK. It was the number one import country in all of Europe. Once it received the goods, then you can send your goods and get it fulfilled directly all the way to either Poland or, all the way across the EU. Now it's separate. People have to, like you mentioned, logistically figure out how many goods to send directly just to UK. And then most goods, actually, I believe recently it was announced that Netherlands became the number one importer of goods into the EU because of where it's situated. And now that to have goods to get to the number one place to get to is Germany first, but to get to Germany, everyone's sending goods through to Netherlands, then to Germany, then fulfilling through that. So it's again another half step, if you will, in the process as well. But as Amazon, my question to you is: Amazon continues to roll out its marketplaces throughout Europe. It's not the number one marketplace as evident in the research. There's other marketplaces that are more popular in terms of user base. Amazon would rather just sit in the background and let people come to them. Do you at hellotax help with other sort of tax obligations and VAT and GST with other marketplaces, or is it just Amazon to be specific and
well,
to be clear?
we are focused on e-commerce sellers, not only
Perfect.
on Amazon sellers, but e-commerce sellers precisely, because obviously VAT is a huge topic, and the number of regulations for each of type of activities
Each
that you do
marketplace. Yeah.
is for each marketplace. It's you would go mad. It's like but very a lot of people that are coming from US, let's say, they cannot believe it. They thought they very often are not expecting so much complexity between the states, the EU states. They kind of have the feeling that it's like back there, that it's one market, should be regulated, standardization, but it's unfortunately still not the case. And not mentioning the VAT rates per types of products, but the way that the VAT should be sometimes even paid. We have here in Poland also a specific thing which is called now split payment, when the VAT is splitted between two parties, and there are a lot of similar non-standard transactions that are taking place in France, in Italy, and so on and so on. So yeah, we are focused on the thing that we think that we can do. We can, let's say, we can gather that data, gather that information, keep our VAT experts, accountants up to date in that area. They can be focused on it. They can refresh their knowledge, be up to date with all the changes that are happening. Therefore, e-commerce sellers is our focus, but not only Amazon sellers. Now we have clients that are doing sales on their own websites, using other platforms. We have clients that even, let's say, are starting and would like to do sales everywhere, and therefore we are also supporting them for all the sales, for all the transactions that they have. Yeah.
If you were to give advice for, if I'm in the United States, I am in the United States and I'm a seller that wants to expand to Europe, what's the number one place to start in your mind? What's the easiest barrier to entry if you were to give advice?
Well, for a non-EU company, the first barrier in some countries is a fiscal representative, which is not always a mandatory thing. Not in every country. It's a mandatory requirement. Yeah. Therefore, I would always go with countries that do not have that requirement, like Germany, for example. Yeah, where you don't have to appoint someone special. There's someone that is, by the way, also responsible for VAT, for your VAT payments. So that certain company or person holds a certain liability. Therefore, the fees and everything that is related to pricing is different than in a country that you just have an tax agent, let's say. Yeah, that's completely different.
Makes sense. And also maybe why Germany is one of the more popular platforms in terms to sell, or marketplaces to sell online, because of those regulations and growth. A little bit easier to get into that barrier, but also because the audience warrants it as well. I saw a couple. I have a couple more questions, and I'll again invite people who are listening to us live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you have other questions or specific, uh, questions about your own marketplace or your own storefront, if you will, and you're trying to get more insight, go ahead and ask that in the comments section below, or you can actually, I put in the comments section as well more about hellotax below. It's in the comment section. Also, the show notes if you're listening to us on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. This will also be in the show notes as well, where you can learn more about hellotax as well with Kris and his team. But Kris, when kind of as 2021 evolves and we saw lots of growth happen in 2020, what are the areas that you as a company are focusing on in terms of helping new sellers, but also international brands grow their business? Is it going to be in making sure that they're in multiple marketplaces and showing them the opportunity? What's kind of that focus for you as a company moving
Well,
forward?
Um, honestly speaking, the main focus was first to prepare for this OSS as well as a
Sure.
company, because that is changing the way that that our software operates. We operate via software that is helping us to figure out how those transactions should be reported. It's being built with the support of our accountants, but also always before we start to do anything, we have to understand what should be the changes that we have to implement. And as you might know, OSS was a topic which had a lot of questions, but unfortunately not many answers to those questions that were really specific, right? They were like, okay, maybe like this, maybe like that, and stuff like this. So that was our main focus. And currently we're also thinking about the impact on the non-EU sellers that are doing business via a marketplace that is being a deemed supplier, because definitely, mm, the non-EU clients were never our focus. But we see that there is a bigger opportunity for them to enter Europe. Actually, from one perspective, the whole regulation was done to make sure that the VAT is being collected on those transactions that are being done by the non-EU companies. From other hand, which I just was mentioning, uh, in regards of this fiscal representative topic. Yeah, if we have the lower risk, we have a bigger opportunity as well for them. So that will mean that maybe the entry fee, the entry cost that they would have to face might be lower when those regulations kick in. The next phase that we as a company we would like to focus would be other marketplaces that you mentioned,
Mhm.
specifically the ones in the South America, so in Middle South, let's
Mercado
say
Libre
Mexico,
and mhm.
Brazil, and so on. These are interesting marketplaces, I think, and they are growing marketplaces as well. So it's also a very good place um, to expand in a certain moment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Growth happening in South America, in Central America, Mexico, like you mentioned. Specifically, Mercado Libre is one of the more popular, I want to say top 5 marketplaces in the world, apart from Amazon. So definitely opportunity there. Uh, our company is also very much, we support a lot of Chinese-based sellers. Is there anything specific that if they're listening to this or watching this as well, is there something that they need to know that's any different from other sellers that might be located around the world?
Well, no, Chinese seller or US seller is a non-EU seller, so there are no big differences really rated to that. Obviously, the only thing that is sometimes we see companies, we have also signals from certain clients that for a Chinese client, sometimes it's harder to get this fiscal representative, for example, yeah, in those countries where they need it. And that's probably linked with the fact that in case of any issues, as I was mentioning, those companies are liable for all the VAT payments. Yeah.
Sure.
So the people, let's say, or e-commerce sellers coming from China or coming from Europe, uh, we have the same situations in both parties. Sometimes there might be issues with VAT payments. Either they're related to the business, yeah, either for overlooking. Sometimes, which I say is the really corner cases, it's just done by purpose or not done by purpose. Those payments are not being done on purpose, and that's the only thing that I hear from our clients is difficult as well. When they were looking for someone else, we are able to support those clients, and definitely looking forward to those changes, which will allow us to be even more flexible.
Right. Money doesn't discriminate, right? It doesn't care where you're from. The rules and regulations apply to everyone. So
That's true.
although it might be a little bit different in terms of getting money out or in or paying those
Mm.
as a company, it's still the same rules apply for everyone. So I don't see any other questions that came in, but Kris, again, for people who might have other questions, or specifically if they're just they have so much on their plate they don't have enough
Mhm.
time to type it in or ask the question today, where can they learn more information about you, or how should they reach out? Is it the sales at hellotax.com, or just go to hellotax.com? Is that the best way to do that?
I would say it's the best thing to do that. And on the website, you also have a possibility to use our free software. Okay, our software that can help you to understand how your figures looking like in all the countries, but also it just allows you to have a better track on your sales. It gives us as well an opportunity to even suggest you some solutions that we might go with, we might offer you. So hellotax.com, free software, yeah, and then you have, let's say, a small experience or what we can offer you in a paid version, in a premium version. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that offer and for sharing that information with our audience today. I know, I took a lot of notes here in the background. I was scribbling away. So it was very insightful in terms of the changes, like you said, for people who are selling online, staying up to date and staying ahead of the curve or the wave, Amazon or any other compliance complexities that are out there in those marketplaces. It's always important to rely on your partners and people like HelloTax in terms of helping you in these different ventures. Of course, what PingPong does in terms of international growth, relying on us, we rely on HelloTax to educate our consumers in order to stay ahead of the curve. So thank you so much today for hopping on Crossover
Thank you.
Commerce.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kris. Again, that was Kris from Hara from HelloTax. Again, make sure you check out hellotax.com, everyone who is listening to this. If you didn't get a chance, again, it's earlier here in the United States, a little bit later in the day. We're in Eastern and Western Europe. So wherever you are listening in the world, this is the beauty of this show. We're always going to have insight and information from people all over the world to help you grow your Amazon and e-business enterprise, if you will. So it's important to understand that these kinds of complexities, there's companies that we rely and support on. We we rely on to help educate our customers and audience in order to bring you, the people who are listening to the show and watching the show, more information to help level up your business, to grow internationally, and again, stay ahead of the curve. I'm Ryan Cramer, the host of this show, Crossover Commerce. Thanks for joining us again on episode 105. Again, this title of the show is called One Stop Shop Changes for Online Sellers Across Europe. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Kris and hellotax for hopping on today. We'll catch you guys next time on our next episode of Crossover Commerce. Take care, everyone.